Excellent. Thank you and good morning, everybody. It's so nice to be here at Circle with you. If you're willing to turn your cameras on, we would invite you to meet us in Circle here. We'd love to be able to see your faces and to meet face to face. I know we are recording, so if that's not comfortable, we understand. But if it's at all possible, we'd love to see who's here with us today. So I'll start just a quick introduction to myself and invite Seth to introduce himself, and then we'll talk about where we're going and what we're doing here together today. So my name is Seth. I'm joining as the engagement and community engagement and development coordinator. Excuse me. Here with the Moosehide campaign. I've been with the campaign for just over a year now. Just helping communities, organizations, people of kind of across the country get involved with the Moosehide campaign and find themselves in this work with us. Excuse me, my voice isn't working this morning all of a sudden. Joining today, as Melissa mentioned, from Vancouver Island. I'm actually calling in today from the really beautiful territory of the Slanawas people, Hulkaminam speaking people, which is kind of north of, just a little tiny bit north of Nanaimo. In the central Vancouver Island region. I actually grew up in Alberta, in southern Alberta, and spent up to my 20s there. So it's nice to be here in Circle with all of you today. And yeah, kind of feels like being at home. So I'll pass it over to Seth to introduce himself, and then we'll talk about where we're headed.
Thanks, Tabitha. Hello, everyone. I'll just greet you in my traditional language and saying Gela Kesla, Yokonsalas. Hello, my name is Seth Rakelma, and I'm one of the outreach coordinators at the Moosehide campaign. I'm coming to you today from the territory of the Lekwungen speaking peoples, the nations of the Songhees and Esquimalt in beautiful Victoria, BC. I am Heshkwit from the Neutronla First Nation on my mother's side, and on my father's side, I'm from the Namgis and Qualicum First Nations, all from Vancouver Island here. So born and raised, but yeah, just so happy to see you all this morning and just happy to sit in Circle with you. And I'll pass it back to Tabitha. Oh, you're on mute there, Tabitha.
Thank you, Seth. If you don't mind popping up that first slide, I'll go through just a quick overview of what we're chatting about today, where we're headed. And for anybody that has just joined, just reiterate an invitation. If you're willing to join us in Circle with your camera on, we'd love to see you. It is being recorded, so if that's not comfortable, we understand. So we'll start with some introductions, share about the Moosehide campaign story, you know, how we were started, what we're out here doing in the world right now, where we've come from, where we're going. Talk about Moosehide Campaign Day and becoming a champion in that space. Our invitation, of course, to you all today is to host a Moosehide Campaign Day event, and we'll talk about what that means, what that can look like. Instead of community connection via Slido, we won't be using Slido. We're a pretty small group today, so we'll just invite anybody that is comfortable to come off of mute and share their voice into the Circle, or type into the chat if speaking into the Circle doesn't feel comfortable with your voice today. Give you some quick final thoughts, questions, and ways of staying connected. So it's where we're headed. Yeah, welcome to the space.
Right on. Thanks, Tabitha. Yeah, so just as we head into our session here, there's just a few little invitations that we'd like to put out to you. So as we invite you into Circle and to hear and participate in these challenging topics, we kindly and respectfully request that you consider the following as you prepare to join us. So the first being to bring your full presence. So please take this opportunity to take a break from other tasks or other things you got going on. Get comfortable and prepare to actively participate to foster space for our presenters and others in the Circle. The second is to create connection. So in Indigenous cultures, fostering connection is a foundational part of relationship building. With that in mind, we humbly ask you to keep your webcams on if you're comfortable. I know we are recording, so we can see your smiley faces and meet in Circle. And the third is a trigger warning. So we'll talk about some difficult topics such as the missing and murdered Indigenous women and girls, 2S plus, and violence. So whatever feelings arise for you are totally valid. This is an invitation to listen to your body and approach with empathy and kindness. Please consider, having a glass of water or having a notebook by your side should you need it, and do not hesitate to reach out for support. And the final one is self-care. So we invite you to honor your own needs. Please feel free to eat or drink as you need during the session, take a break, or attend to whatever arises during the presentation. Self-care improves our relationship with ourselves and each other. So, as we do this work, it helps us to, be mentally and prepared for the work that we're doing. With that, I think I'll pass it over to Tabitha and we can do some introductions in the group maybe.
Thanks, Seth. First off, just want to, acknowledge all the work that each of you are doing in your communities. I know you're joining from the family, community social services across the province. And just, really hold our hands up to you and say thank you for the work you're doing. One of the things we'd love to know is who are you? Where are you joining us from today? So if we're a small group, I think 17 in the room. If you'd like to type into the chat, just let us know where it is you're joining from. If you want to come off mute, feel free to, if anybody would like to speak in, we'd love to hear your voice. But yeah, where are you joining from today? From Nanton, Quality of Life Foundation. Welcome, Lynn. Shelley from the town of High River. It is so nice to be seeing all of these towns, Peace River, Lamont. Having grown up in Alberta, I don't get back very often. And so, yeah, town events and all of these are just such familiar towns to me. So nice to see. We've got two, Diana and Sarah from Edson. Thank you. Town of Fox Creek. Welcome, Brianne. And Lori from Camrose. Hello. Westlock. Okotoks, but originally from Fraser Lake. Oh, hello, Amy. Thank you. Welcome. We had our team. I'm not sure if you know, but the Moosehide campaign was born in and around Fraser Lake. And our team had the great fortune of visiting Fraser Lake and sitting in circle where the first moose gave its life for the campaign. And so, yeah, really nice to see that name pop up as well. Melody from Grand Prairie. No worry about your camera not working, Molly. Thank you for being here. Thank you for joining us. Paul's family, yes. So you're familiar with the lizards. Awesome. So nice to have you here. Excellent. Well, yeah, we'll have lots of time for questions at the end. If question does come up, feel free to pop it into the chat. And at the end, we've reserved some time to just really be able to be in conversation with one another. That's what our hope is that we're in conversation here today. So yeah, thank you for introducing yourselves. It really does help us to know who's in the room and creates that connection. Thank you. I'll pass it to Seth now, who will share the story. A lot of you are here may know some of the background of the Moosehide campaign, but we always think it's just a really good space to start to share, the background of what it is, where we've come from. So I'll pass it over to you, Seth.
Thanks, Tabitha. Yeah, so now I'll just run you through a bit about the campaign, where it started and where we are today. So the campaign began over 10 years ago as co-founders Paul and daughter Raven Lacerte were on a hunting trip to help them feed their family for the winter and provide for cultural purposes for their nation. In their home territory of the Carrier people, which also parallels Highway 16 between Prince George and Prince Rupert, also known as the Highway of Tears, was where this idea for the Moosehide campaign was first conceived. Paul and Raven were blessed with a moose that morning, but were heavy-hearted being in the vicinity of the highway where so many loved ones had gone missing or been murdered. They thought to themselves, that something needed to be done. And with that, they decided to use this moose to start making a difference. Now, I love the way Raven tells this story. She always has such a funny spin on it, but she tells a story about when they first brought that moose back to Victoria. So I'm not sure if very many of you know, but the tanning process of moose can be very stinky. So they brought that moose hide back to their house in Victoria and began to tan and prepare it to be cut. Because it was so stinky, the sort of house started receiving smell complaints from their neighbors, all in around their block. And it got so bad that eventually they were paid a visit by the bylaw officer, who was asking, to kind of shut things down. And during this whole process, Paul managed to wrangle up a copy of the United Nations Declaration of Rights of Indigenous People, which states that Indigenous people have the right to practice traditions such as these. So after this visit from the bylaw officer, the Lissert family finally finished tanning the first moose hides and began to cut it up into individual little pieces. And they actually hand wrote the first cards that were ever made with these pins. And they wrote these cards just to explain to people that this pin is essentially, your everyday commitment to end violence towards women and children and to stand up. Before they knew it, they had used this moose hide to create the first 25,000 moose hide pins ever made. They started to hand them out to their friends, their families, their colleagues, and soon after, they started seeing them in their communities, popping up at the grocery store and their schools. And we did some work actually with a local firm that said that every pin sparks at least 5 conversations about this issue. And today we've gone from that 25,000 to over 5 million pins distributed across the country, which is over 25 million conversations about domestic violence and the missing and murdered Indigenous women and girls 2S+. In the early days of the campaign, Paul and Raven had attended a conference based on raising awareness of the missing and murdered Indigenous women and girls 2S+. And out of the 200+ participants at this conference, only 5 were male. Our co-founders saw this issue and the need to include men and boys in these discussions, hence our aim to help guide men and boys in developing healthy behaviors and concepts of masculinity. The Moose Hide campaign recognizes that all forms of violence are unacceptable, regardless of gender. But we see the disproportionate number of women and non-binary people who are victims, and the importance of engaging men and boys in addressing this issue. In saying that, the campaign and this pin is for everyone and anyone, but we believe that our women, our children, our Two-Spirit people are sacred and deserve a life of dignity, respect, free of violence. And when we talk about inviting men and boys into the space, something that we like to say at the campaign is that it's not about calling someone out, it's about calling someone into our circle and into this journey of healing and reconciliation. So every year, the Moose Hide campaign holds our annual gathering, which is a day of ceremony, learning, and healing. It's a day of workshops, keynote speakers, and love that incorporates many facets of Indigenous culture, and one being our day-long fast. So in Indigenous cultures, fasting is seen as a way of sacrifice. And for us, a way that we can sacrifice just a little piece of ourselves for this cause. And it's our goal at the campaign to reach 10 million pins distributed across the country and have 1 million Canadians coming together and fasting with us on Moose Hide Campaign Day in ceremony. But we also recognize that, fasting isn't feasible for everyone. But we always say that this fast or this sacrifice can look and be different for anyone who wants to participate. So since the campaign began, it has now grown into a nationwide movement of Indigenous and non-Indigenous Canadians from local communities, First Nations, governments, schools, colleges and universities, police forces, and many other organizations, all committed to taking action to end this violence. And it's a commitment to take action in honor of women and children everywhere, and a symbol of honoring Indigenous medicine and belonging that is here to stay. So with that, I think I'll pass it back over to Tabitha just to kind of give us a run through of some other ways that we can be getting involved and some of our resources.
Thanks, Seth. Yeah, the reason we've invited you here today, of course, as Seth says, is to invite you in to stand with us to host a Moose Hide Campaign Day in your event. When we first started Moose Hide Campaign Day, I've heard it was before I was involved with the campaign, but I've heard that there was 10 pretty grumpy, very hungry men standing on the steps of the BC legislature. And it's just grown from there. You know, the next year there was 20. Last year we had 50,000 people fasting in ceremony across the country and over 500,000 people joining us in some way, shape, or form. And we say, you know, there's lots of ways to participate in the campaign. Perhaps you're gifting moose hide pins that day. Perhaps you're fasting in ceremony with us. Perhaps you're hosting a walk to end violence. We all, and I'll walk you through lots of the resources we have. We believe that all of our resources are open source. They're meant to spark conversations in your community and support you in the work you're doing to raise awareness. And so they're gifted. They're always gifted for free. But we do this as a way of calling people in, standing together, and showing that intimate partner violence, domestic violence, gender-based violence is not acceptable in this country. And so as we invite you to stand with us to host a Moose Hide Campaign Day, just know that, you know, we're just so thrilled to have you here. We're just really honored to have your presence with us. I would like to share, I'm going to share my screen and just take you through a walk of our Moose Hide Campaign website. It is loaded with all sorts of these resources I've been talking about. So I'll go ahead and share my screen. And I'm hoping you're seeing the right page. Seth, do I have the right one? Awesome. Thank you. Sometimes technology and I aren't always totally simpatico, so it's good when we are. So if you haven't found our website yet, it is www.moosehidecampaign.ca. I am going to send an email off to Melissa as soon as we're done here, and I'm hoping Melissa will forward it off to everybody that was here today or to any of the FCA, SSA communities, organizations, and just give you some of the kind of the highlights of what I'll show you today. But one of the things that I could start with the pins. We'll start with the pins. So if you haven't any moose hide pins yet and you would like to, you can order pins here. The pins are always gifted free. They're considered to be traditional medicine. As Seth was talking and sharing about the story, you know, it was really about sharing that little piece of the land, you know, when Paul and Raven were out hunting, you know, just so connected to their land, so connected as their ancestors, as their people had always been, this land had provided for them. And just, you know, really in awe of that and wanting to share a little piece of that medicine to heal what was going along that highway. So, and is morphed into, you know, just for all to spark these conversations. So it's a little piece of land medicine, and as such, we never charge for them. They are always gifted. They're never bought nor sold. We've had people offer to, you know, order a bunch and sell them on our behalf and donate the proceeds back. And thank you, but we ask that you don't sell them, order them and gift them as well. Donations are always warmly welcomed to help us fund these costs, but it's never required. It is a traditional medicine. So you can just scroll down here and order as many as you want. We have lots of this medicine and it is meant to be shared, so please order. For those who are uncomfortable wearing hide, we do have a vegan option as well, so you can order the non-leather pins. They come in batches of 25, and if you order in like denominations of 25, that actually really helps our shipping costs. Some people are like, oh, you know, I only need like 48. I don't need a full 50, but it's cheaper administratively for us to send those 50. So go ahead and order in batches of 25. Share them out. One of the ways that we, as we build towards Moose Hide Campaign Day, which is May 16th this year, one of the things we are doing on our social media campaign is Wear and Share Wednesday. And we invite you to participate here, to take a picture of yourself, your team, anybody that is, or, you know, any space that is wearing the pins, whether it's one person, whether it's two people, whether it's, you know, 100 people, to take a picture and post on all your socials and to tag us. It allows, one, it invites all those people in your networks in lets them know about the campaign, lets them know why you're standing with us. We invite you to, share a little bit about why the campaign has drawn you, why you're drawn to the campaign. Um, and it also, then we can amplify that, share it out and say, look at the amazing work that's happening, in High River. Look at the amazing work that's happening in Camrose. And then that helps invite more people and more peoples to stand together. As I said, we started with 10. We had 500,000 last year. We really do want to see millions of Canadians standing in this space and not saying this is unacceptable. We know that intimate partner violence is at epidemic levels right now, and we are committed to doing something. So this is the pins, wear and share, wear it in all your spaces, wear it on your online meetings, wear it in the community, wear it to the grocery store, order enough and have a couple of tucked into your bag that you can share them as you're out and about. My husband was just up to Prince Rupert, and I was like, do you have your pins? Make sure people are going to ask about them. So tucking those into his bag is in all the spaces he's in as well. And as Seth mentioned, they are for everybody. We originally, it was when Paul and Raven started, it was really a way of, honoring that warrior spirit and calling men and boys in. And then the question, was mother of boys, a two-spirit person, can I wear it? Our answer is always yes. And the answer that Raven, used to first give is the answer that we, when somebody asks about it, say, thank you for asking. I'm part of the Moose Hide campaign. Would you like to join me? So order lots. The next thing I want to point out is our registration for campaign day. So campaign day is May 16th. And where our ask to you is to stand in the space with us. And one of the ways that we can really show that this is important to Canadians across the country, coast to coast to coast, is when you register. Registering does a couple of things. One, it lets us know you're standing with us, allows us to say this is an issue that matters. It also gets you all sorts of really cool resources. We have, so we live stream the events from Victoria, and we offer online virtual workshops on the day. So you'll get access to all of the live streams, which you can share with others or, for yourself. It also, you can, the workshops are always free, and there's some really, really wonderful elders and knowledge keepers that are sharing again this year. So yeah, I encourage you to sign up for those, and then you'll get the links to all of those as well. And you can let us know how. As I mentioned, there's lots of ways of participating in the campaign. Perhaps you're wearing your pin that day. Perhaps you're hosting a walk to end violence. Let us know how you're standing with us. And you can register a group. Like if you are hosting an event with your community organization and you're going to have, 10 or 100 or however many people joining you, you feel free to register all of them. And then that lets us know there's 1,000 people standing in High River on May 16th or wherever you are. There's also one other piece that I really want to point out on campaign day. If you go to campaign day, and Seth mentioned the fast. The Lacerte family who started the campaign are a fasting family. Paul will go for 4 days, no food, no water, really supported by a community. We know that, as the fasters' fire is burning, that it takes a community to support the fasters. And whether you're fasting, whether you're inviting other people to fast, or whether fasting's not for you. If fasting's not for you, we understand that. And we understand that it looks different in different cultures as well. My brother-in-law is from Bosnia, and he fasts by not eating meat. That's what the fast is in his. However you choose to fast, we welcome you. We invite you in the way that feels meaningful and safe to you. And there are lots of resources down at the bottom of the campaign day page. The importance of fasting, Elder Dr. Lee Brown, Elder Marie Jose, and just lots of resources there to share, whether it's sharing internally or whether you're sharing it externally. Please feel free to use those resources. And there are more resources that come once you sign up for campaign day too. We do host the Fasters Fire in Victoria, BC, to support the ceremony there. But there's lots of other pieces. The other piece I wanted to share was our downloads. So if you're hosting a campaign day event, whatever that looks like, and I mentioned earlier, we consider all of this to be open source. all of our resources are meant to be used in the way if it feels meaningful in your community. You know your community's best. We know that we don't know your community. We know that you do. And so however this feels meaningful, like however you it lands for you, we encourage you to use them as works. So we've got lots of social media tags that you can download, just download the post. Our logo, the one thing that I will say about our logo, you are so welcome to use it. Please, there's actually two things I'm going to say about it. One is that it was a gift to us by Carrie Newman. And so we ask that you don't alter it in any way, just in respect to the artist. The other piece is that we ask that you don't use it for any profit. We've heard about wonderful, all sorts of organizations like printing t-shirts. Awesome. We love to see pictures of people in Moosehide campaign shirts. We ask that those aren't sold for profit, and even sending 10% back to the Moosehide campaign. That's not our intention with this campaign. Our intention is to have conversation with it. And so we just ask that we had an issue, which is why I need to mention it now, where people were profiting from the logo. And so we ask that we just do share that. But you can download all of those pieces there. All of these, we do have a 2-page handout. I know there's, you're like, you want to be in this, some people, really want to be in the space, and they're like, oh, I don't know if I'm the right person to share the message. First off, yes, you are. Thank you. Thank you for sharing the message. And we want to supply you with as many resources as possible so that you feel comfortable speaking in the space. The 2-page handout gives some really great information there. We also have a large number of YouTube videos, and I'll share a link to our YouTube page and that email that I follow up with. But there's lots of videos on there, from 1 minute or a minute and a half, what do we mean when we say Moosehide is medicine, to a 6-minute kind of condensed version of the story of the Moosehide campaign. And then there's lots of the past workshops. You can kind of see what sort of thing, but there's like literally hundreds of videos on our YouTube channel as well. Blank event posters that you are welcome to download. And then all sorts of these digital assets. If you want to build your own posters, you want to build your own social media links, however you want to download any of these pictures, post them where it feels useful to you. And then we have our virtual meeting backgrounds too. Seth is rocking one of those. Just another great way of speaking, just sharing about it in all of those online meetings that so many of us really live in those spaces. So yeah, there's lots of virtual meeting backgrounds. And the printable signs. We were so heartened last year. We were getting pictures on campaign day last year of people walking across the country, holding these end violence towards women and children. And it was so neat to see them coming out of, Kittaken, Zibi, Quebec. And there was, I'm blanking on some of this, like St. John's, Newfoundland, and they were in Edmonton, and they were just all over these places. And it was so heartening to see so many people committed to this action, to getting up and doing something. And to see that it mattered. And so please feel free to use those with any of your pieces. And then we also have this Honoring Truth and Reconciliation guide that we put out for September 30th that you're welcome to use, both in learning in the space and sharing September 30th or at any other time. I'm just going to come to the host your own event place. And so I've talked about, different ways of participating in campaign day. So May 16th starts early in the morning when the sun hits Turtle Island. I think it's somewhere between 1:30 and 2 a.m. Pacific time. So I guess that's 2:30 or 3 Mountain time. When the sun first touches Turtle Island, it starts with the sunrise ceremony. That's live streamed. I don't get up to watch that one. We do also do a sunrise ceremony here in Victoria. And then we live stream through there. We have keynote speakers, some really, as I said, we haven't released the names quite yet as we're still finalizing some of the details, but I warmly welcome you to keep an eye on the speakers coming, because they're just truly beautiful souls. But there's so different ways you can get involved. So some people take the live stream and they, just show it. They put a TV screen out and they show it. A lot of people will host a walk to end violence. And when we say a walk to end violence, we're not talking a 10K run. In Victoria, we literally walk 2 blocks. It's more about getting up. It's about creating awareness. Last year it was so beautiful. I was supporting the volunteers, and so I like just kind of ran out at the end of the walk to end violence, and so I was near the end, and there was over 1,000 people walking, and the drums were going, and it was just beautiful. And so many people were walking by and saying, "What's this about?" Maybe they hadn't heard about it, and what's going on. And when anybody in the crowd would tell them, they'd nod and they'd join the walk, and it was so beautiful for me to see how it landed with people. That there was nobody that said, "Oh, that doesn't resonate with me." It just resonated with anybody walking by, and the sun was shining. That definitely helped us last year. But it just really created a community feeling. And so perhaps Walk to End Violence, we've heard some organizations literally get up and walk around their office building together. That's wonderful. Some people do, a community walk and invite the local media. We encourage you to do that. Use any of our resources. Maybe you're hosting a fast, maybe you're fasting together. And so what I've heard from a lot of organizations that are fasting together is that they will fast together for the day, and then they plan on having a fast breaking ceremony together at the end of the day. And so they're not going to fast right until sunsets. They're going to fast until 4:30 or 5 o'clock, and then gather and talk together about what it meant for them to be fasting, for them to be giving up the food or the food and water for the day, and just kind of debrief together and share their experience. Some people are just joining in the workshops together and talking about that. Some people are handing out Moose Hide campaign or Moose Hide pins. And so there's lots of resources on our website under Campaign Day, Host Your Own Event. You can see all of the different, we've got guides, we've got all sorts of pieces there. The hosting the kiosk, ordering enough pins, and share Moose Hide pins that day. That's wonderful. Thank you. And just all sorts of, we're trying to gift and make it as easy as possible. Our goal with the campaign is to make it as inspiring and as easy as possible for everybody to take up, or everybody to stand in this space together. That being said, if there is something on here, something that you're like, you know what, this would land well in my community, and you don't see it on our communications assets, or you don't see in any of those spaces, let us know, reach out to me. I will make sure that my email address is available in that email I sent to Melissa. And I warmly welcome you to reach out and say, to look for resources. We'd love to know what works. These are the ones that have been requested or that we thought would be helpful. And you know your community best. So let us know if there's something that you don't see. Actually, I'm just realizing there's one piece I haven't seen. I'll come back to that. But if you are hosting events that the public are welcome to, we would love to know about it. And so at Campaign Day, host your own event at the bottom of the page, and I'll send a link to it that'll get you more directly there. But let us know what's happening in your community. We put together, as we get closer to Campaign Day, a map of Canada, and we put a little Moose Hide pin in all the places that are hosting events. And it was so cool last year to see all of those spaces that were standing together. It does a couple of things. One, it helps people find you. We get questions all the time, what's happening in Camrose? What's happening in Leduc? And we often don't know. We know that there are so many events that are happening that we haven't been told about, and that's fabulous and that's wonderful. But we can't support helping other community members that perhaps, maybe aren't involved in all community things, but this is a space they're going to stand in. So if you let us know, we can advertise it for you, hold up the work you're doing. Also, it helps us to, we can do a little bit of media outreach, and invite the media to all those spaces. We also strongly encourage you to invite the local media, do a social media splash. Let people know that this is important. So yeah, submit your community event if you can, and we will post it on the map. The one thing I haven't spoken about that I kind of want to take 2 steps back, and I wish I had led with this, and I'm sorry I didn't today, but was under Learn More on our website, Get Help. And so, I mean, I'm talking to the family and community social services agencies here, so I know this is a space that you're thinking about as well. But we do have just really want to make sure that as we're talking to people, that everybody is feeling safe in this. These are triggering topics. These are um, difficult conversations. And we want to make sure that there is help available. And we know that it's, perhaps your agency does support help, and that's wonderful. And, perhaps these are ways that you can support and showcase some of the supports you offer. And here's some other ones that we have on our website, the Hope for Wellness Helpline, Residential School Crisis Line, Crisis Services Canada. And we encourage you, if you're the agency that's providing those services to make sure that they're available for people. And if not, finding some local ones to make sure that everybody is feeling safe in this space. It's just one I really want to point out is this Men and if you haven't heard about them, to check them out. We met with the leader of Men and last year. And one of the Google searches that was really happening through COVID was, am I an abuser? And one of the spaces that why Men and stepped into the space was to support those who were questioning their own behavior and wondering how to do better. And so they're a wonderful support if you haven't seen some of their spaces yet. Encourage you to check it out as we invite people in to heal, into to put the love back in. So I've been talking a lot, and I've got just two more pieces I really want to show you all. And then I haven't been watching the chat yet. So I'm sorry if there's questions in there. I'll get to those in just a moment. But I do want to make sure that we have time to connect in community here and hear from you what you're planning, what you might need, what we can do to support you. But before I get there, I do want to just point out, I'm not sure if there's any Francophone associations here today, or if you're involved in one, but we do have a French website. And so sometimes my English translation comes on automatically and it doesn't look like French, but it is. This is our French website. We are continually building our French resources. And so we do have workshops for both the K-12 and the adult space in French as well, and different resources, social media, as well as our social media and YouTube. So I did want to point that out. The other part that I really wanted to show you was our K-12 site. And I know I am likely speaking to the choir here, but we know that ending gender-based and domestic violence is an intergenerational journey. We know that these conversations matter in the early years. We also know that they need to be done age appropriately. So we have an entirely separate website called education.moosehidecampaign.ca, and we run an entirely separate Moosehide Campaign Day for children and youth. And we do have for different age groups. Of course, in the early years, we're not talking MMIWG. We're sharing the medicine wheel. We're talking about what love looks like. We're talking about healthy relationships, and building that through the ages as they grow, middle years, later years. So I did want to point this out for anybody that is working with youth. There's lesson plans. We've got this year's Moosehide Campaign Day. We'll have another 10 workshops, and we have an education team that also does learning resources to go with all of the workshops. But again, the really exciting presenters that are coming up this year. Willie Pohl is our Director of Education and works with influencers and knowledge keepers and elders across the country. And that's actually one thing I will point out too, is that we really do, we are really trying to incorporate different nations, different Indigenous ways of being and sharing, knowing that, there are more than 650 nations across this country, and sharing the teachings of elders and knowledge keepers to ensure that we're being age appropriate, but also culturally appropriate, making sure that these messages being shared in a good way. So if you haven't seen our education resources yet, we warmly encourage you to check those all out and there's all sorts of there's curriculum guides and all pieces. And we've heard, so they're often used in schools. I think last year we had 380,000 youth joining us for Moose Hide Campaign Day, and pins being shared in classrooms. That's wonderful. And they're being shared in after school spaces and in on nations in youth workshops. And 4-H Nova Scotia took on Moose Hide Campaign in a big way last year. And so just whatever spaces that you would like to share that into, we encourage you. You know, it's not just for school. So that was an awful lot of talking. Thank you for listening to all of it. And I want to invite questions, comments. We'd love to hear from you about, yeah, anything we've just said. And then if not, we've got questions for you, other questions. If anybody'd like to come off mute, you're most welcome to right now. Or type into the chat. And while we're waiting, if anybody has a question about any of that, just wondering, is anybody, we saw some of the communities from Alberta after Melissa shared the information last year. We saw a few of the agencies come and host Moose Hide Campaign Days. And our question is, does this resonate? Is there the possibility, or is anybody planning anything for Moose Hide Campaign Day that you'd be willing to share with others?
Hi, I'll share. This really resonates, but I just found out about this like last week when I got the invite to this webinar. So I think I'll try to do something. I think I'm going to reach out to the YWCA in Canmore and see if they want to plan something with me. But I do think it's like, I work for the municipal government, so it's like, seems like a long way away, but it's actually like a short turnaround time. So I think I would likely do something small this year, but have it in mind to do maybe a bigger event next year with more time to plan. But I really appreciate all the resources and everything that you have. I mean, that makes it a lot easier. It's not like starting from zero. So thank you. I'm definitely inspired.
Awesome. That's fabulous, Molly. Thank you. We, yeah, so exciting. I know we, feels like 3 months feels like a long time, but we know it's not either. So that's the piece, you know, whether you're sharing, you know, order Moose Hide pins. And that's one thing I'll encourage you, if you want Moose Hide pins before Moose Hide Campaign Day, hop off this call and pop your order in as soon as possible. We, they come flooding in now, and it's still lots of time to get them. And the sooner you order them, the quicker that you'll have them in hand, and more guaranteed we can to have them. Lori, awesome. We've shared the Moose Hide pins for a couple of years. Thank you, Lori. Bit of sharing. Awesome. Gotcha. Yeah, the 5 conversations. It was so amazing to hear. So we heard this. We're a small team. I have to preface this, but there's only 12 of us in the Moose Hide campaign right now, full time, like right across the country. So but we're all really, really passionate about what we do. And it's important to us that what we're doing is actually making a difference. And so we always work with a third-party impact measurement firm to ensure that what we're doing is actually, you know, that we're not putting our blinders on to make sure. And what they came back with was that each pin that has ever been created, you know, kind of on average, so even if there's, you know, a couple that are just sitting in drawers, the other ones that are having hundreds of conversations, that each pin ever created sparks at least 5 conversations. And we hear the most wonderful stories about them. Somebody emailed the other day, and they were like, I was in New York City and I was walking down the street and I saw I was wearing my Moose Hide pin and I saw somebody else wearing their Moose Hide pin. And it was just this moment where we actually high-fived in the middle of New York City and had this moment of connection, like, hey, me too, me too. And so that was really, really cool. We also hear from a lot of people, actually, Molly used to say, speaking about municipal governments, there was one person, and it was in Northern Alberta community, and I apologize, maybe Grand Prairie, but he was working with the local nations and was a big supporter of the campaign and always wore his Moose Hide pin. And he said when he went, you know, and was just trying to do some relationship building with the nation, that was neighboring them. And as coming in with his moose hide pin, and, we never mean for it to be virtue signaling, like, oh, look at me, I'm so good, but as a personal commitment. And this fellow was definitely a personal commitment. And he said, it just created such a bridge, such a conversation opener, and an understanding that, yeah, it matters. This matters to me. I care. And he said yeah, the story he shared was just totally beautiful. Amy, yeah, Mr. Needs grew up in the area where the women have gone missing. Connect with all the schools in Okotoks. So you'd love to do a walk. That would be amazing, Amy. Thank you. There is on our website a video, Community Champions. And I'm blanking on the Kimberly. I believe it was Kimberly, BC. So a small community. And it was one guy was like, this resonates with me. And so he hosted a Moose Hide campaign day, and the schools came out in droves. It really spoke to them. And so you can go and see that video on our website. And that was from 2 years ago. I have heard that it was even bigger last year, and that the whole town really gathered in the square. And there was drums and I believe there was even a circle dance last year. So really beautiful. Yeah, thanks. And Amy, if you're willing to pop that pin on, even if even if you don't want to invite other people because it's schools, not put the location, but just let us know that that's happening. It helps us invite media to other places as well and say, like, they're gathering in Okotoks, they're gathering in, Fort McMurray, they're gathering in St. John's. If you're willing to, that'd be super great. Nicole, inspired to host an event as well. First time I've learned about this campaign. Thank you for being here. Thank you for joining us. Awesome. Yeah, the website is just loaded with resources, which is kind of why I like to do a walk through. There's so much in there. Yeah. Anybody else? Is there any resources that we could offer that are not on there? Knowing your community, knowing what you might need in the space. I know probably there's probably a few of you here that are working with municipal governments. We actually are doing a really targeted outreach to municipal governments, inviting mayors to stand with us this year and to challenge another mayor to, tag somebody else. That's going to be letter is going to go out very shortly. We've had the city of Edmonton, their Indigenous relations team, their city manager have been just really, really committed in this space. So it's nice to see municipal governments and like lots of big ones and little ones, like big towns and little towns. And so that's really heartening for us. So yeah, we invite you to go to your mayor and council and ask them to proclaim May 16th Moose Hide Campaign Day. Invite the mayor, the city councilors, invite everybody to wear the campaign and to post it. We just want this tidal wave of love going across the country. And Raven, we were hoping Raven was going to be here with you all today, our co-founder. Unfortunately, last minute issue arose that she wasn't able to be here. So I apologize for that. But what she will often say is, it's not enough to take the toxic out. That still leaves a hole. And so we're taking the toxic out and we're putting the love back in. That it's about sharing connection. It's about sharing community. It's about sharing culture in a way that inspires people to be loved. Diana, first time I've heard about this is by asking someone about the pin they were wearing. Thank you. Yeah, that's, I love when I get asked about my pin. And it really is a bit of a ritual for me when I put it on in the morning, just, a moment to ground about why I'm in this work. I've been working in domestic violence, gender-based violence kind of my whole life, over 20 years now. Not that that's my whole life, obviously. But my whole career has been, I worked at Sheriff King Home in Calgary, and I worked up at the domestic violence shelter in Fort McMurray. Done lots of sharing circles and healing circles in Calgary. I've spent a lot of time in Calgary. And still, when I put my pin on in the morning, it's a moment to just ground and to, why am I in this work? and to be present. So yeah, it's always the thing is that we understand. Paul will be the first one to say it's an inside job first and foremost. It's an inside job for individuals. It's an inside job for organizations, and then we can share that love out. Proclamation templates. That is an awesome idea. And we have a proclamation template. Shelly, if you want to private message me your email address, I will send you a proclamation template. And I think that should be on our website. Grand idea. So yeah, we'll see what we can do, but I will get it to you right away if you can just pop that to me in a private message. And Lori's asking, and I think I will pass that question to you, Melissa.
Yes, we will definitely share this recording out with everyone. We'll share it with actually the whole membership. And so if you're not directly on our email list, I think I can also just grab the emails from Zoom and send that out, make sure we send it out to the Zoom participants. So absolutely, we want to share this far and wide.
Excellent. Just making sure I have Shelly's email address there. Thank you, Shelly. I'll get you that proclamation. Yeah, Carla, absolutely pop me your email address if you don't mind. I would love to. Thank you. Yeah, I'll make sure that it, and if anybody else wants the proclamation thing, just direct message me your email right now, if that's okay. And then I will be sending, as I mentioned, to Melissa, kind of ways of keeping in contact. I'll make sure that you all have my email address. My literal job is to support you in ways that might feel meaningful and easy for you to take the campaign in. And I am like thrilled to spend time in connection. So reach out at any time. There's also one more after we've done the community champions training, which I'm so glad you're all here. We do these for the wider community as well. And so if there's anybody that you think would like to be in one, they can sign up on our website. The next one is March 8th. There's another one March 20th. And it's an hour and a half session, very similar to this one. And so, sorry, squirrel, I get distracted so easily. But yeah, you sign up there. But once you've attended a community champion training, we do have drop-in calls for anybody that's, already kind of in the space and, committed to maybe doing an event or something and just has questions or wants to know if there's anybody else in their area, or I won't always know the answer to that one. But just another space to connect is our community drop-in calls. And I believe actually the next one is tomorrow already. And I believe they take place at 9:30 Pacific time. So I guess that would be 10:30 Mountain time. But just once a month, just a place to come in and get support. This can be challenging work. And we just really want to hold up and honor what you're doing and support you in it. Awesome. Amy, you can see the most you can order is 2,000. Yeah, you can absolutely get more than that. Just put it in the other. There's up to 2,000. And then if you put it in the other, you can order more. Absolutely. Any other questions? I love when we're right on time. I do want to pass it back to Seth to close it down for us and to wrap it up. But I just wanted to make sure that we've answered any questions that anybody has. We'll send you the email, the drop-in times, some links. But yeah, please feel free to reach out to me. Pass it to you, Seth.
Thanks, Tabitha. And thank you everyone so much for joining us here today. Yeah, it means a lot to sit in circle and just to share into the circle about, the work that we're doing. And also just a reminder to take care of yourselves, while doing this work. As Tabitha mentioned before, I'm sure I'm preaching to the choir, but it really does help, especially for me, in doing this work too. It helps for someone to remind me every now and then too, just to yeah, to sit and to to really take care of yourselves while doing this. It helps to have a healthy mind and a healthy heart while being in this space. But yeah, other than that, I just wanted to thank you so much. And yeah, maybe I'll pass it back to Melissa.
Thank you very much, Tabitha and Seth. That was really interesting, and the resources you have are amazing. I love your openness to any other ideas, and yeah, this was just really wonderful. I also really love the idea of just the Wear and Share Wednesday. I mean, how simple is it to put on a pin and take a picture with your boards or your staff and just share it out on social media to help spread the word? So thank you for sharing not just the campaign and the reason behind it, but all the amazing resources. And I can't believe a team of 12 people across the country can pull this all together. So thank you very much. Thank you everyone for joining us. We will get the recording out, and have a wonderful day. Take care, everyone.